So I know that this is going to be a multiple day process, but I am wanting to go through and reorganize my bookshelves because my TBR cart that is right here is starting to look a little empty on the TBR portion of it. But I know these aren't all the books that I have read. So like a quick rundown of how I have things kind of organized right now is the top two shelves here are books I haven't read. But then at the bottom of my TBR cart, which you can't see right now, is like all of my romance books, and it's like entirely full. I have no room there. And so I want to kind of have a spot to move some of my romance books actually onto a shelf up here somewhere and pull some of my like continued TBR onto the cart and just kind of better organize it. I have it mostly set up to where the top, like half of it mostly, actually it's not very well organized at all anymore, but it used to be that like the top half was like fantasy and romantic-y stuff, and then this section was kind of like YA, this section is like mysteries and thrillers, and then this shelf down here is all of my book of the month books, and then the bottom shelf is like more like YA dystopian and like some of my like boxed set books, and then I have a little collection of like nonfiction down at the bottom as well. So I just want to go through and reorganize it because like up here I have some Emily Henry books now, and I kind of want to turn this shelf I think into a romance shelf and just have some more color, because I feel like so much of my bookshelves, like the whole upper half, is just so dark. So I want to rearrange things a little bit and just kind of have it better organized. I feel like I want to go through and pull some of my book of the month books out as well that I don't think I'm going to read. But right now I have them organized by like the top color of the little spine. But I don't know, I need to go through them. I have some like St. Patrick's Day decorations on here that I'm going to pull down as well and just kind of reorganize the whole thing. But I know it's going to take a while. And I also have right over here, I have a pile of the books that I've read so far this year, just kind of sitting off to the side because they need to go back up onto their spots, which is partially why it looks so empty, because I'm missing some of the books off the top. And then I have a little collection of my books for this month. But I don't know, I want to better use my TBR cart to be just TBR stuff and just have a better spot for the romance, because I think if I could move it onto one shelf, I don't even think it's enough room. I think I'm going to need two shelves for romance stuff. So I might try to make it like one half fantasy and the other half kind of like miscellaneous stuff, and just move like my book of the month stuff onto like the two bottom shelves of this side. But I don't know, we will see. I think I'm going to try to unhaul some books while I do this as well and just kind of go through everything, figure out how many books I own, how many books I haven't read, just all of it. But it's going to be a multi-day process, so it's going to be filmed in a bunch of little parts as I'm kind of working on it. So yeah, we're just going to go with it. I'll film some of the process of it, but I don't want it to drag on forever. So I'll kind of do like updates and what I'm thinking. Definitely I'll do like a little montage in here of the process, and I'll do like a full tour afterwards, because I don't know, I want to reorganize stuff and potentially buy a couple like new books that have been on my radar. And I also need to do something with my race day bib. Right now it's just stuck to the wall. But yeah, I like to keep the top ones decorative because most of the time when I film, I usually just sit on the ground, honestly. And so you see, like, most you normally see is this shelf and down. So I'm okay with the top shelf being not a ton. But yeah, I'm not sure how I want to organize it. I feel like as much as I like the idea of doing it by like color and having color coordinated shelves, I feel like I don't have enough colorful books that it just wouldn't look as good as I would want it to. And I feel like realistically I would rather have it separated kind of by genre, because then if I'm in the mood for a certain thing, like I know where to go on my shelves. But yeah, I feel like this is definitely due for an upgrade now that I have more romance books that take up more space than the little tiny amount of room that I was giving them before. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do is separate my books. Actually, the first thing that I'm going to do is take all my little like decor things down. So I'm going to start with that. And I have some of them that I've partially just like put to the side. I have some little St. Patrick's Day ones that I'm just going to put away. And then we'll go from there. So I'm going to take all these down. I have this tiny egg that has little glasses on it. My dad has a matching one that has like a different shape of glasses. And we just think they look like us. We're just little eggheads. Alright, so now that all of the like little decor pieces are off the shelves, I think I'm going to separate the books just based off what I've read versus what I haven't read, just to kind of get an idea, because I feel like that would be interesting to know. So I'm also going to pull all the things off of my TBR cart, because the big thing that I want to do is just reorganize that cart. So I'm on to my book of the month shelves now, where most of my unread books are, unfortunately. But this is why I have stopped getting book of the month for now, because I feel like initially they were a great way for me to find like some mystery and thriller books that I hadn't heard too much about that were typically good. I just ended up with way too many of them because I only read them as palette cleansers. So I just ended up with a backlog of so many book of the month books, and some of them that I don't really have too much of an interest in reading. Now that all the books are off the shelves, I'm going to count all the books. I can already tell I definitely have more unread, but it is closer to 50-50 than I thought it would be. But then I also have 5 books that are on my TBR pile right now that I have pulled to the side. Alright, so I have 109 books that I've read, and I'm not counting my 2 special editions of Six of Crows because these are duplicate copies. So it's 109 individual books that I've read off my bookshelves. So now I'm going to count the unread ones. It's 111 because I have the 2 Fourth Wing books over here because I didn't want to separate that series. 111. So update, I found a few books from my unread pile that are books that I've already actually read. So there's 115 books that I have read and 139 books that I haven't read. So really pretty close to 50%. And like I said, I'm going to go through some of the ones that I haven't read, and I might unhaul some of those. But some of them are just series that I feel like I maybe should have waited on buying the rest of the series until I read the first one. I'll kind of separate these by genre a little bit now. I think I'm going to put them all up regardless of whether or not I've read them, because I want a place for them to go even like once I've read them, and then I can pull some and put them on my TBR cart. So with organizing these, I know that I want a specific shelf on here for romance books, and I want it to be one that's pretty visible in most of my videos, so I feel like these 4 shelves are the ones that tend to be the most visible. Probably these 2 right here, because if I'm sitting on the ground, these are kind of right above my head, and then if I'm standing, these ones would be visible as well. So it's kind of like the middle 6 are going to be the most visible ones. So I'm kind of thinking about making this one near the window my romance shelf. Alright, so I'm definitely making some progress. I'm still not sure if I love how it's turning out. I feel like I definitely need another bookcase at some point, whether it's another one of these or like a smaller one that I can maybe make like a dedicated like mystery thriller shelf or a dedicated romance shelf. This shelf I'm not loving exactly. This is kind of like darker colored fantasy books. I have 4th fan stack here that separates the paperbacks from the hardcovers. So if we go down here, this shelf is more romance books, but I have kind of like dark romance, and then these are a couple series that I don't really have much of yet, so there's kind of like miscellaneous romance. I have some Elsie Silver books that I think eventually will all be one stack. Kind of depends on how much room I have, because I have Wild Love, and then 3 of the books of the Chestnut Spring series. And then from this side over is going to be my hardcover romances that aren't as pretty as those ones. And then on this side I have, these are more like YA fantasy. I have V. Schwab over here. These are all books that I read in like middle school and high school. The Hunger Games stuff here. I have a little tiny bit extra space here for Sunrise on the Reaping, and then I realized I never owned the first book in the Match trilogy, so eventually I need to pick up that. As you can see, I still have a ton of books. I have all these books over here, most of which, these are all the book of the month ones. These stacks here I think are books that I'm going to get rid of. Those are the mystery ones that I think are going to go on this empty shelf up here. And then I have a couple of hardcover fantasy books, but also went through and I put the books that are on my monthly TBR, I put some of them back up on the shelf because I kind of wanted them to be a placeholder. So they are back up there. Right now I'm going through the book of the month ones, seeing if there's any that I don't want anymore. There's a few of them that I read and just really didn't enjoy, so getting rid of some of those, and then a few books that I've owned since high school and haven't read yet and probably won't read them at any point. But then the other big thing is I don't know where I'm gonna put these bad boys because these books are so thick. And the third one's over there, I just can't pick up all 3 of them at once. But I used to have a dedicated Sarah J. Maas shelf, and I don't know if I can do it. I love Throne of Glass, but these books just weren't my favorite, and I don't own ACOTAR yet. So I think once I get ACOTAR, which I probably won't get until we move and are in more of a finalized location, but it just got really dark in here, but I just don't know where to put these for now. Powerless, which I did really enjoy, and I'm waiting for the 3rd book to come out, and that might determine on whether or not it finds a place up at the top or somewhere else. I don't know. I wanted to try to put these with like the YA fantasy stuff, but I just ran out of room. So it's Sunday morning now, and I just have to do a couple like final finishing touches of adding some of my decor stuff back up onto the bookcase. I think I'm going to do a separate video going through an updated bookshelf tour, and I'll include the books that I'm unhauling in that video, because I feel like this one's just already going to be long enough with this reorganization process. Alright, so this is the final bookshelf. I still don't love it. I feel like I said, I think I definitely need to eventually get another shelf so that I can kind of divide up some of these books a little bit better, because I know that pretty shortly I'm going to need a full bookcase for like my mysteries and thrillers, because I have a couple of like regular fiction up here that I just kind of threw in because I don't really have a spot for them. And I don't love the mystery being up here and then my hardcover mysteries being down here, but the hardcovers just took up the entire shelf and it didn't look as nice as my romance shelf did. So I feel like eventually that'll need a little bit of changing. Same with I have a couple of like general fiction books over on this romance shelf as well. So overall, I am really happy with how it turned out. I'm very happy to have this colorful romance shelf now, because I feel like that's what my shelves have been missing. So much of it, especially before, it used to just be all these kind of more darker toned fantasy books. And I have a few colorful ones. I typically like the YA ones, but as you can tell from these shelves, a lot of them tend to be more darker tones, jewel tones, compared to the bright colorful shelves that is romance. This is an awful angle, but this was the easiest way to do this right now. I did pull all of my fantasy books that I just have the first book of a series that I haven't read. They are all on my TBR cart, because they are actually all on my TBR. I have my romance ones, whether I read them or not, are up on the shelf right now. Like I said, I'm going to have a new updated book tour, and on that I will include everything that I've read, what I haven't read, these stacks of books that I am going to be getting rid of, and yeah, then we will go from there. So that is going to be it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the process of reorganizing my bookshelves. I will definitely be doing another one because I think we're going to be moving within the next year. So I'll have another book organization whenever we move, but I just felt like I needed a little switch up with my bookshelves sooner than that, and the main reason was to make a dedicated romance shelf on my bookshelves. And yeah, I am pretty happy with how they turned out, but definitely be on the lookout in the next year for new bookshelves as well. But I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I post bookish videos every single week. If you did like this video, give a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and if you guys want to see an updated bookshelf tour, let me know. Like I said, I'm probably going to film it anyway, but I just feel like I know that half the books I've read and half of them I haven't, so I feel like when they're on the shelves it's easier to just feel like I've read them all, but definitely have not. But if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!